going on, guys? It's Ricky with Technical Solutions. I wanted to make a video that talked about earnings and some patterns that I've noticed. It's a very common question that I've received before. Should you hold during earnings, or should you just sell and then cover profits and buy back in later? So I'm going to explain to you my thought process. Again, this is my thought process. It's nothing set in stone. This is just what I've done and have seen success in. But everyone experiences losses as well. So I just want to talk about that, and then also averaging up when it comes down to taking a swing trade. So I'm going to try to combine the two, just because I don't think each video deserves or has enough information to deserve its own video itself. So I hope that you guys enjoy. So due to it being earnings season, there was a lot of stocks that were going through their earnings, and there was a very common pattern that I've noticed. And one of those patterns are when a stock becomes so overpriced or so overbought or overvalued, although it does hit its expectation for its earnings, so although it does hit its earnings report for like its revenue and stuff like that, it still experiences a sell-off. And how come sometimes some companies don't hit their earnings, but all of a sudden start to see a huge rush, right? There's one of two things. So when it came down to AMD and its previous earnings that it hit, although it did hit its earnings, its guidance was off, and this was during the holiday season. After that report was given, the long-term investors, you might assume that if they don't think that the guidance of the overall company is going according to their eye or their vision, then they might end up selling off some shares. Not sure exactly what happened, but the pattern that I've noticed that I really make sense of it, right? I don't know exactly what's going on the back end for AMD, but something that I've noticed with big companies is that when they become so overpriced, so looking at the overall price point, so we can do a one-year analysis and look at the low points and the high points. And while they're approaching earnings, just ask yourself, hey, is this overbought or oversold as we're getting closer to its earnings? The reason that I find that to be very important is although they become although the price is doing well, right? It's about $15, which is a pretty high point for AMD right before its earnings. Because it's such at a high point, it's so not overvalued, but you could almost assume that although the earnings does hit its expectation due to the growth that it's experienced, that expectation might not be at that price valuation that it's currently at, if that makes sense. So although it did hit its earnings, but it's because it's such at a high price point that its guidance or its vision might have for long-term investors might have been a little bit different, which led to that huge price increase. And then people realized that wow, due to its guidance, and although it did hit its earnings, we expected something much more due to the price that it's at right now, which can cause a sell-off, because if its guidance or the vision is off for the overall company, long-term investors might not want to hold. So all it comes down to is when I see series of stocks that are way overbought leading up to the earnings, I tend to not hold those during earnings. And the reason why is that although they might hit their earnings, if their guidance is a little bit off or their earnings are not at up to par, because of how overpriced it is, then that's what and based on my history of seeing these different larger cap and multi-billion-dollar companies incur sell-offs. Now when it comes down to other companies that are way more on the oversold side, something like Snapchat. So Snapchat, looking at the 180-day chart, seeing the low points and the high points, Snapchat didn't necessarily hit its earnings, but again, it was very oversold, right, at the price point that it was at. I mean, there were lower points, but if Snapchat was at $18 to $20 and it had this earnings, long-term investors might have been like, wow, its guidance isn't necessarily there, it's not doing as we expected. There might be a sell-off. So I don't know exactly what Snapchat announced or anything of that sort, but it's a very common pattern that I've noticed that when stocks are overbought, so very peaked out, they tend to have sell-offs even if they do hit their expectations. And there's also stocks like this that become so oversold that even though they don't hit their expectations, or if they do, then they occur some form of catalyst that drives the price up. And as we've seen for Snapchat, that's been working out very well for them. Let me go ahead and see if I can have another example for you guys. Tesla, right as it hit its earnings, we could see right here, right as it hit its earnings, 350 was a pretty high point for Tesla at that position. After it reported its earnings, it definitely did not meet its expectations, and is again, on the one-year analysis, it was a little bit more. So looking at where it was at, it was a little bit more on the overbought side than oversold. So it makes sense on why it had that sell-off, especially if it didn't hit its earnings. All I wanted to talk about was, the pattern of leading up to earnings, ask yourself, is this overbought or oversold at the current state? And if it's more on the overbought side, then ask yourself, do I know enough about the company that not only are they going to hit their earnings, but, exceeded by a certain dollar value so it can make up for, it being overbought. And if that doesn't make sense to you, then you might want to do a little bit more DD on, what overbought or oversold means, and how these companies are valued altogether. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about is when it comes down to averaging or adding, shares to your position. So when it comes down to swing trading, a question that I get asked a lot, especially with the position that I had with JNUG. When it did this reversal, I took a smaller position initially, and then I added more, to my position as it started showing signs of an uptrend. That's something that I've done, very, very often, just because initially when you get in, you're confident that it's going to reverse, but you're never 100% certain. So that's why I don't go in with my full dollar value. One of the things that I do is when it comes down to averaging and adding more to my overall position, I take two things into consideration. Not only do I wait for the confirmation for the break above the EMA, but for me, this is for what it is that I see value in. One of the things that I look for is for the candles to push up above the EMA line on the 180-day chart, to pull back and to validate this EMA line as a support line. When it validates that, and then again, it makes higher lows, meaning that when it pulls back, it doesn't go as low as it did before, and then it pushes up and makes higher highs. That's showing me signs of an ascending uptrend pattern. Something like, we've seen with JDST based on its history again before. So, don't focus on this, but when it breaks above the EMA, that's great. It pushes up, it pulls back, it's a swing trade, it happens, but then it validates that EMA line. That's what I like to see. It pushes back up, pulls back, validates the support line. It's, again, still showing signs of an ascending uptrend pattern. Pushes up, pulls back, pushes up, pulls back, pushes up, reverses, downtrend. And again, now we're getting the sign of the reversal. So, it pushed up, that's great, a potential reversal. Now we want to see for a pullback, we want to wait for a pullback, wait for it to validate that 180-day EMA, at least for myself. And then when it pushes back up again, then I get that confirmation that it's showing signs of an ascending uptrend. So when do I know when to add to my position? I take my initial position at the push, right, when it breaks above the EMA. I wait for the pullback. I wait for it to validate the support on the 180-day EMA. And on the pullback, that's where I add more to my position again, because there's a sell-off. I want to get in at a good buy, at a good price. So when it sells off, and I see it start to consolidate on the EMA line and start to indicate, an uptrend pattern intraday, then that's when I add more to my position, and then I ride it back up. I can sell the peaks, wait for the sell-off, buy again at the dips, peak, sell off, buy back in at the dips, and then again, sell off. So very, very simple patterns, very simple understanding of how it is that I take these positions, add more to my size as it continues to show signs of an uptrend pattern. Why is it that I do that and don't go all in? Well, I want to make sure that, whatever it is that I'm investing in is showing signs of an uptrend pattern. And although we might be getting that in the very beginning, there's not one full-on confirmation that, okay, I'm going all in and that's it. You definitely can do that. It's just a little bit, of a higher dollar risk. I found this to be an effective way that not only has assisted me, but also many of the members within TechBut Solutions and Learn Plan Profit. So thank you guys again so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. All the links are down below. If you guys, like the way that I explain things and like the way that I break things down, if I make them simple and easy to understand, I would encourage you to check out that first link in the description. So I work with a private group every single day, Monday through Friday, and I speak to them over voice chat. Also, the third link in the description, we have over 80,000 members within our private, TechBut Solutions networking group. So if you like surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals, then I'd encourage you to check out that group, as we would love to be a part of your success. The first link is just, a group that I work with more closely, obviously, and then you also gain access to a lifetime access to this video lesson library that I've created that explains to you step by step everything it is that you need to know about investing in the stock market. So thank you guys again so much for your time. I hope you guys all have an amazing and safe weekend. Continue working hard, continue following your dreams, let your passion be what drives your success, and like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. Take it easy, team.
I'm at my prime. Yeah. I'm at my prime. Whoa. Have I gone too far? Do you detect something different? If you look at